I changed the locks. I changed the deed. I changed everything they thought they knew about me. And now, sitting in my own living room, in the same house my late husband built with his bare hands, where no one sneaks behind my back anymore, where no one treats me like a fool, I am going to tell you exactly how I did it. Because a 71-year-old grandmother had to outsmart her own daughter, her own flesh and blood. The child I carried for 9 months, nursed through fevers, put through college, loved with every ounce of my being. My daughter Denise became the one person I needed protection from. And her husband Jamal was the engine behind every scheme, every lie, every dollar they tried to drain from my life. But I did not let them win. I made moves they never saw coming because they were too busy underestimating the old woman upstairs. And if you stay with me until the end, you will understand why I do not feel one shred of guilt. Why every phone call I made, every document I signed, every sleepless night I spent planning was the best thing I ever did for myself. Because there comes a point in your life when you realize that love without respect is just a leash, and I finally cut mine. My name is Gloria. I am 71 years old. I live in a 4-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood outside of Atlanta. My husband, James, God rest his soul, was a contractor. He built this house from the foundation up in 1986, back when we were young and full of dreams. Every beam, every tile, every inch of this place has his fingerprints on it. He passed away 8 years ago from a heart attack, sudden and cruel, and left me here with this house and a paid-off mortgage and 2 daughters who I believed would always have my back. Denise is my older girl, 43 years old, sharp tongue, expensive taste, married to Jamal, a man who smiles too much and says too little. They have 2 kids, my grandbabies, Tyler who is 12 and Nia who is 9. I would walk through fire for those children. Then there is Tamika. She is not my biological daughter. James and I took her in when she was 6 years old. She was the daughter of my cousin Lorraine, who passed from an overdose and left that baby girl with no one. We raised Tamika like our own. She is 39 now, lives in Charlotte, works as a nurse, calls me every Sunday without fail, sends me flowers on my birthday. Tamika never asked me for a dime in her life. Denise resented Tamika from the day we brought her home. She was 8 years old and already possessive, already territorial. She would tell Tamika things like, "You are not really my sister, and this is not really your house." James and I corrected her every time, but children absorb what they absorb. And somewhere along the way, Denise decided that Tamika was competition. Competition for what? I never understood. There was enough love in this house for everyone, but Denise always acted like love was a limited resource, and she deserved the biggest share. After James died, Denise and Jamal offered to move in with me. "We will help you with the house, Mama. You should not be alone in that big place. It is too much for you." At the time, I was grateful. The silence of this house without James was suffocating. I said yes without thinking twice. They moved into the upstairs bedrooms, all 3 of them, plus the kids, and for the first few months, it felt right. Denise cooked sometimes. Jamal fixed a leaky faucet. The grandkids filled the house with noise and laughter and life. But then things shifted. Slowly. So slowly I almost did not notice. Denise stopped cooking. Jamal stopped fixing things. They started closing their bedroom door when I walked by, whispering in the kitchen and going silent when I entered. Jamal started coming home late, and Denise would snap at me if I asked where he had been. "Mind your business, Mama. He is my husband." I told myself it was normal. Married couples need privacy. I was being too sensitive, too needy. Just an old woman who did not know how to let her grown daughter live her life. Lord, how wrong I was. It started with the electricity bill. I always paid the utilities myself, even after they moved in. James left me comfortable, not wealthy, but comfortable. Social Security, his pension, a savings account with enough to last me if I was careful. I never asked Denise and Jamal for rent. They were family. You do not charge your own daughter rent. At least, that is what I believed then. One Tuesday afternoon, I was going through my mail and noticed the electric bill was nearly triple what it usually was. $387 for 1 month. I had never seen a bill that high in 40 years of living here. I called the power company thinking there was an error. The woman on the phone told me there was no error. She said there had been a significant increase in usage on the second floor of my home. She asked if I was running additional appliances or if I had tenants. Tenants. That word stuck in my head. I told her no, just family, and hung up, but something did not sit right. I started paying attention after that. I noticed things I had been too trusting to see before. Strange cars parked outside my house on weekends, noise from upstairs at odd hours, Jamal carrying fresh linens up the stairs on Friday evenings like clockwork, the smell of cleaning products drifting down from the second floor every Thursday night. One Saturday morning, Denise and Jamal left early, said they were taking the kids to Jamal's mother's house for the day. I waited 20 minutes, then walked upstairs. I never went up there anymore. Denise had made it clear early on that upstairs was their space, and I should respect their privacy. But this was my house, my name on the deed, my husband's hands in every wall. I opened the door to the guest bedroom, the one that used to be Tamika's room when she was growing up. What I saw made me grab the doorframe to steady myself. It looked like a hotel room. The bed had crisp white sheets with those decorative pillows you see in fancy places. There was a little basket on the nightstand with bottled water, granola bars, and a card that said, "Welcome to your Atlanta retreat. Enjoy your stay." There was a lockbox on the desk with a keypad. The closet had been emptied of everything personal and stocked with extra towels and a hairdryer still in its packaging. I opened the second upstairs bedroom. Same thing. Hotel sheets, welcome basket, a small coffee station with a French press and fancy beans. On the wall, they had hung a framed print that said, "Relax, you deserve it." My hands were shaking. I pulled out my phone and searched the address of my own home on one of those vacation rental websites, and there it was. A listing with photos of my upstairs rooms, my hallway, even my backyard garden that I planted myself. The title said, "Charming Private Suite in Historic Atlanta Home, close to downtown, hosted by J&D Hospitality. 5 stars. Over 140 reviews. Prices starting at $175 a night." They had been renting out my house, my home, rooms in the house my husband built, to strangers, without telling me, without giving me a single dollar. 140 reviews meant this had been going on for at least a year, maybe longer. At those prices, they could have been pulling in $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month from my property, under my roof, while I paid every utility bill and never saw a cent. I sat down on that hotel bed in my own house and cried. Not soft tears, deep, gut-wrenching sobs that came from a place I did not know existed inside me. But I was not done discovering the truth, not even close. I went back downstairs and into the kitchen. I needed water. I needed to think. As I stood at the sink, I noticed a stack of mail on the counter that Jamal usually grabbed before I could see it. They must have forgotten it in their rush to leave. I flipped through the envelopes. Most were addressed to me, but 3 of them were from a business registered at my address, JD Property Holdings, LLC. I opened the first envelope. It was a bank statement for a business checking account in the name of JD Property Holdings. The balance was over $62,000. $62,000 sitting in a business account registered to my address. The second envelope was a letter from the Georgia Secretary of State confirming the annual registration of JD Property Holdings, LLC. The registered agent was Jamal. The registered address was my home. The third envelope made my knees buckle. It was a notice from a commercial lender. A line of credit for $150,000 had been approved for JD Property Holdings, LLC. The collateral listed was my property. My home, my husband's house. They had used my house as collateral for a business loan without my knowledge or consent. $150,000 of debt secured against the roof over my head. If they defaulted, and knowing Jamal's spending habits, that was a real possibility, the bank could come after my house. I could barely breathe. I sat at that kitchen table for over an hour, reading and rereading those documents, trying to understand how my own daughter could do this to me. How the child I had nursed through chickenpox and heartbreak and everything in between could look me in the eye every single day while she was running an illegal business from my home and putting my house at risk. But then I remembered something that made the rage turn ice cold. 3 months ago, Denise had asked me to sign some papers. She said it was for the homeowner's insurance renewal. She had a stack of documents with little sticky tabs marking where I needed to sign. I trusted her. I did not read every page. I signed where she pointed and went back to watching my show. I now realized what I had signed. It was not insurance paperwork. It was something that gave them the authority to use my property for their business. My own daughter had tricked me into signing away my security. That night, I could not sleep. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling James had installed himself, running my hand over the wall he had plastered and painted, and I made a decision. I was not going to crumble. I was not going to beg. And I was absolutely not going to lose this house. But I needed help, and I knew exactly who to call. Sunday morning, I dialed Tamika. She picked up on the second ring like she always does. "Hey, Mama, how are you doing today?" Her voice was warm and steady. I broke down immediately. I told her everything. The rental listings, the business account, the $62,000, the loan, the forged documents. Tamika listened in complete silence. When I finished, she said only 5 words. "I am coming home now." She arrived Monday evening. She had taken emergency leave from the hospital, packed a bag, and driven 4 hours straight. When she walked through my front door and hugged me, I felt something I had not felt in years. Safe, truly safe in my own home. We sat at the kitchen table, and Tamika pulled out her laptop. She is sharp, my Tamika. Methodical. She started documenting everything. She photographed the upstairs rooms, screenshotted the rental listing, downloaded the reviews, saved the business registration documents. She found the LLC filing online and printed the full record. She tracked the rental income by cross-referencing the listing's booking calendar with the business bank statements. In 18 months of operation, Denise and Jamal had earned over $89,000 renting out rooms in my house. They had paid me nothing. They had not contributed to a single utility bill, grocery run, or property tax payment in that entire time. Meanwhile, I had been feeding them dinner every night, watching their children after school, and thanking God that at least I was not alone. Tuesday morning, Tamika drove me to see a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. A woman named Patricia Okafor, who specialized in elder financial abuse. She had a reputation in Atlanta for being relentless. When I showed her the documents, she put down her glasses and looked at me with eyes that were both kind and furious. "Mrs. Gloria," she said, "what your daughter and son-in-law have done constitutes multiple felonies, operating an unlicensed business from your property without consent, obtaining a business loan using your home as collateral through forged authorization. And if those papers you signed were misrepresented to you, that is fraud. Wire fraud if any of it crossed state lines, which it likely did through the rental platform. You have grounds for criminal prosecution and civil recovery." Then she said something that changed everything. "And you do not need to sell your house. In fact, you must not sell your house. That is exactly what would benefit them. What we are going to do is remove them from the property, dissolve their fraudulent business, and recover every dollar they owe you. Your husband built that house for you. We are going to make sure you keep it." I cried right there in her office, because for the first time since this nightmare started, someone was telling me I could fight and win, that I did not have to run. That standing my ground was not just possible, it was my right. Patricia moved fast. By Wednesday, she had filed an emergency petition with the court to freeze the assets of JD Property Holdings. She filed a complaint with the Georgia Secretary of State for fraudulent business registration. She contacted the commercial lender and presented evidence that the collateral authorization was forged, triggering an immediate investigation that would halt any claim on my property. She also sent a cease and desist to the vacation rental platform, which took down the listing within hours once they saw the evidence. Thursday, I did the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. Tamika and I sat in my living room and waited. Denise and Jamal came home from work around 6 in the evening. The kids went upstairs to play. Denise walked into the kitchen and saw me sitting there with Tamika and a stack of papers on the table. Her face changed instantly. "What is she doing here?" she said, pointing at Tamika. She always referred to Tamika as she, never by name. I said, "Sit down, Denise. We need to talk." She did not sit. Jamal walked in behind her and his eyes went straight to the documents. I saw the color drain from his face. He knew. In that moment, he knew that I knew. I did not yell. I did not cry. I spoke calmly and clearly, the way James used to when he meant every word. I know about the rentals. I know about the business you registered at my address. I know about the $62,000 you earned from my property. I know about the $150,000 loan you took using my house as collateral. And I know that you tricked me into signing papers I did not understand. Denise's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Jamal started talking immediately. Now hold on, Mama Gloria. It is not what it looks like. We were going to tell you. We were building something for the whole family. This benefits everyone. Tamika cut him off. Benefits everyone? You have been running an illegal business from her home, pocketing every dollar, and you put $150,000 of debt against her property. If you had defaulted, she would have lost her house. The house her husband built. How exactly does that benefit her? Denise found her voice then. And there it is. Little Miss Perfect Tamika swooping in to save the day. You are not even real family. This is none of your business. You are just the charity case Mama felt sorry for. Those words hung in the air like smoke. Tamika did not flinch. She looked at Denise and said quietly, I am more family to her than you have ever been. And unlike you, I have never taken a single thing from her. I stood up then. I looked at my daughter, my firstborn, the baby I had rocked to sleep 10,000 nights, and I said words I never thought I would say. Denise, you have 30 days to move out of my house. My lawyer has already frozen your business accounts. The rental platform has been shut down. The lender is investigating the loan, and you will likely face criminal fraud charges for forging my authorization. I am giving you 30 days because of Tyler and Nia. They deserve time to adjust, but in 30 days, you and Jamal will be gone from this house. And you will repay every dollar you owe me, one way or another. Denise screamed. She cried. She called me ungrateful, said she had given up years of her life to take care of me, said I owed her for being here. Jamal tried to negotiate, tried to bargain, tried to explain how the business was actually a good idea if I would just listen. I did not engage. I had spent decades engaging, accommodating, bending, shrinking. I was done. That night, after they had stormed upstairs and slammed the door, Tamika sat with me in the living room. She held my hand the way I used to hold hers when she was a scared little girl who had just lost her mother. You did the right thing, Mama, she said. I know it does not feel like it right now. But you did. I squeezed her hand and asked her the question that had been eating me alive. When did I lose her, Tamika? When did Denise become this person? Tamika was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Maybe she was always this way, Mama. Maybe you just loved her too much to see it. And maybe that is not your fault. Maybe some people just take and take until there is nothing left to take, and the only thing you can do is stop giving. The next 30 days were tense. Denise barely spoke to me. When she did, it was sharp and bitter. She told Tyler and Nia that Grandma was kicking them out because she did not love them anymore. That broke my heart so deeply I thought I would not survive it. Tyler came to me one night with tears in his eyes and asked, Grandma, is it true you do not want us here? I held that boy so tight and told him, Baby, I will always want you, always. No matter where you live, you are my grandchild, and I love you more than anything in this world. This is between the grown-ups. It is not about you, never about you. Jamal tried a different approach. He came to me one evening, all charm and apologies. Mama Gloria, I know we messed up, but we can fix this. Let us keep the business running. We will give you 40%. Think of the grandkids. Think of their college funds. I looked at him and said, Jamal, you used my home to secure a loan I never agreed to. You forged my consent. That is not a mistake. That is a crime, and no percentage of stolen money makes it right. He stopped smiling after that. Patricia, my lawyer, was a force of nature during those 30 days. She negotiated with the commercial lender, who agreed to void the loan entirely once the forged authorization was confirmed. She recovered $31,000 from the frozen business account as partial restitution. She filed a civil suit against Denise and Jamal for the remaining amount they owed me, and she prepared criminal referrals in case they refused to cooperate. She also helped me do something I should have done years ago. I put my house into an irrevocable trust with Tamika as the trustee. That meant no one, not Denise, not Jamal, not any court, could ever force a sale or transfer of my property without Tamika's approval. My house was locked down, untouchable. James's house was safe. On day 29, Denise came to me one last time. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where I had fed her every meal of her childhood, and she cried, real tears. Or at least tears that looked real. "Mama, please, I am your daughter. Your real daughter. Does that not mean anything to you? Does blood not matter?" I looked at her and I said something I had been thinking for a long time. "Denise, blood gave me the obligation to raise you, feed you, and love you, and I did all of that. I never missed a single day. But blood does not give you the right to steal from me. Blood does not give you the right to forge my name on documents. Blood does not give you the right to use the home your father built as your personal ATM. You want to talk about what blood means? Blood means I gave you 30 days instead of calling the police on day 1. That is what blood means to me." She left the next morning. Jamal loaded up a rental truck while Denise sat in the car, staring straight ahead. Tyler and Nia hugged me goodbye. I held them so long that Jamal honked the horn from the truck. I whispered in Tyler's ear, "I love you. Call me whenever you want. This is still your grandmother's house, and you are always welcome. Always." I watched them drive away, and I stood in my driveway until the truck disappeared around the corner. Then I went inside, closed the door, and sat in the silence of my own house. My house, nobody else's. The months that followed were a process. I will not pretend it was easy. There were nights I sat in the dark wondering if I had been too harsh, if I should have given Denise another chance. If maybe I should have just let them stay and worked something out. The guilt came in waves, especially when I thought about Tyler and Nia. But then I would remember. $62,000 stolen from my property. $150,000 of debt hung around my neck without my knowledge. My signature forged on documents I never understood. My daughter looking me in the eye every single day while she ran a business behind my back, in my home, profiting off the house her father built with his own 2 hands and never offering me a single dollar. That was not a misunderstanding. That was not a mistake. That was a calculated, sustained, deliberate exploitation of my trust, and remembering that kept my spine straight on the hardest nights. Tamika came to visit every other weekend. She helped me reclaim the upstairs rooms. We stripped those hotel beds, threw out the welcome baskets, took down those ridiculous framed prints. We repainted Tamika's old room in a soft blue, the color she had always wanted as a girl but never asked for because she did not want to be a burden. I told her, "This room is yours. It always was. It always will be." She cried when I said that, and so did I. 3 months after Denise left, I got a phone call from a number I did not recognize. It was Jamal's mother, Dorothy, a woman I had always been polite to but never particularly close with. "Gloria," she said, and her voice was tired. "I need you to know that I did not know what they were doing. Jamal never told me about the business or the loan. I found out last week when Denise left him and he had to explain why they were being sued. I am ashamed of my son. What he did to you is unforgivable, and I am sorry." I thanked her for calling. I told her I did not hold her responsible. And I meant it. Because the truth is, parents cannot always control what their children become. We can give them everything, every lesson, every value, every ounce of love, and they still make their own choices. Jamal chose greed. Denise chose entitlement. Those were their decisions, not Dorothy's, and not mine. 6 months after they left, the civil case was settled. Denise and Jamal agreed to a repayment plan of $58,000, the remaining amount they owed me after the frozen funds were recovered. They would pay it over 4 years. If they missed a single payment, criminal charges would be filed. Patricia made sure every dollar was accounted for. I also learned through the lawyer that Denise had left Jamal. Apparently, once the money dried up and the consequences landed, their marriage collapsed like a house built on sand. Denise moved in with a friend. Jamal went back to his mother's house. The children split time between them, unsettled and confused. I felt a heaviness for Tyler and Nia, innocent children caught in the wreckage of their parents' choices. I reached out through my lawyer to establish formal grandparent visitation. Denise fought it at first, but the judge, after reviewing the full record of what Denise had done, granted me regular visits. Every other Saturday, Tyler and Nia come to my house. We bake cookies. We play board games. We sit in the garden I planted with my own hands, and I tell them stories about their grandfather, about how he built this house board by board, about how love is something you show with your actions, not just your words. Tyler asked me once, "Grandma, why did Mama do what she did?" I told him the truth, gently. Sometimes grown-ups make very bad choices because they want things they have not earned. Your mama made a bad choice. But that does not mean she is a bad person forever. It means she has to learn and do better, and it does not change how much I love you. He seemed to accept that. Children are more resilient than we give them credit for. A year after everything happened, I sat on my back porch one Sunday evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Tamika was inside making dinner. I could hear her humming, the way she always did when she cooked, the same way I used to hum. The same way James used to hum in his workshop. I thought about everything I had been through. The betrayal, the discovery, the fight, the loss, the rebuilding. And I realized something that surprised me. I was not just surviving. I was actually happy. Not the desperate, anxious happiness of trying to hold a family together at any cost. A quieter, deeper kind. The happiness of knowing that I was in my own home, safe, respected, with people who genuinely cared about me, not because they wanted something, but because they loved me. Tamika moved to Atlanta 3 months later. She transferred to a hospital here and moved into the upstairs room, the one we painted blue. She did not ask to live here. I asked her. I said, "Tamika, this house is too big for me alone and too full of memories to sit empty. I would like you here, not because I need someone to take care of me, because I want family around me, real family." She said yes before I finished the sentence. We have a routine now. Mornings, we drink coffee together at the kitchen table. She goes to work, and I tend my garden, read my books, go to my quilting circle at the church. I joined a senior center where I teach basic cooking classes twice a week. I started a small community group for older folks dealing with financial abuse from family members. We meet on Thursdays. We share stories. We cry, we laugh. We help each other navigate lawyers and courts and the particular heartbreak of being hurt by the people you raised. I got a letter from Denise 2 months ago. It was different from anything she had said before. There was no anger in it, no blame, no entitlement, just 5 sentences. "Mama, I have been in therapy for 6 months. I am starting to understand what I did to you. I do not expect your forgiveness. I just want you to know that I am trying to become someone you would not be ashamed of. I love you." I read that letter many times. I put it in the drawer beside my bed. I have not responded yet. Not because I am punishing her, because I am not ready. And for the first time in my life, I am allowing myself to not be ready. I am allowing myself to heal at my own pace, on my own terms, without rushing to make someone else feel better about the damage they caused. Maybe one day I will write back. Maybe one day we will sit at this kitchen table again and have a real conversation. But that day will come when I decide, not when Denise decides, not when guilt decides, not when society tells me a mother should always forgive instantly. I will forgive when my heart is ready. And if that takes a year or 5 years or forever, that is my right. Franklin from my quilting circle asked me the other day if I regret any of it, if I wish I had handled things differently. I thought about it honestly and told him no. The only thing I regret is not seeing it sooner, not protecting myself earlier, not believing that I deserve to be treated with dignity in my own home. I wasted years being grateful for the bare minimum, thankful that my daughter was at least present, even though her presence came at a cost I could not afford. But I do not waste time on regret anymore. Time is too precious at 71. Every morning I wake up in this house, the house James built, the house that is still mine, protected in a trust that no one can touch. I feel his presence. I feel him in the walls, in the floors, in the garden. And I know he would be proud. Not because I fought, because I won. And I won without becoming cruel. I won by standing up straight and saying enough. If you are listening to this, and you see yourself in my story, if someone in your family is using you, taking from you, treating your generosity like weakness, I need you to hear me clearly. You are not trapped. You have options. A lawyer, a trusted friend, a family member who actually cares. There is always a first step. And that first step is deciding that you matter. That your home, your money, your peace of mind, your dignity, these are not things your children are entitled to just because they share your blood. Love your children, but do not let them destroy you. There is a difference between sacrifice and self-destruction, and most of us learn that difference far too late. I am sitting on my porch right now. The garden is blooming. Tamika will be home from work in an hour. Tyler and Nia are coming Saturday. My quilting circle meets tomorrow. There is a pot of soup on the stove and a good book on my nightstand, and not a single person in this house who wishes me harm. This is my life now, small, quiet, mine, and it is the most peaceful life I have ever lived. Not because nothing bad ever happened, because I stopped letting bad things happen to me without a fight. James built this house to protect me, and I finally learned to protect myself. I am Gloria, 71 years old, still standing in the house my husband built, and nobody, not my daughter, not her husband, not anyone, is ever going to take that from me.